Good morning and welcome to Valle de Oro National Wildlife Refuge. My name is Teresa. I'm the Visitor Services Specialist here at the refuge, and I wanted to welcome you to our tour today. We're going to take a tour of the west side of the property and show you some construction and restoration efforts. Before we get started, I wanted to give a land acknowledgement by saying Valle de Oro National Wildlife Refuge is on Tiwa territory, and this is the contemporary and historical lands of the Tiwa people. And when we frequent the space, we ask that you visit it with trust, respect, and community.
Hello, welcome to Valle de Oro National Wildlife Refuge. My name is Katie McVeigh and I'm the Deputy Refuge Manager here. And I want to thank Teresa for inviting me out today so that we can share the story of what's happening on the west side of the refuge. Since Valle de Oro was established nearly 10 years ago, we've been working on the long-range plans for this space. And so we're going to talk through a little bit of what's happening on the west side today. I'm standing on the eastern edge of the stormwater swale. One of the first ideas, one of the first partners to the table when Valle de Oro was becoming established is AMAFCA, which is the Albuquerque Metropolitan Arroyo Flood Control Authority. That's a big one. But our partners in AMAFCA have worked with us to design a nearly 142-acre stormwater swale. Now this swale, when completed, will bring stormwater from the communities to the north and eventually the communities to the east. And that stormwater will be filtered through a relatively wide and shallow swale filled with native grasses. And as it moves through the refuge, the water will be filtered and cleaned, the native plants will be rejuvenated, and some of that water will soak down into the refuge, nourishing the soils, nourishing the plants. Wildlife, large and small, depends on those plants, and we in turn might visit a wildlife refuge to see some of those wildlife. Not only is the stormwater swale going to benefit wildlife and our communities that surround the refuge, it's also going to be a benefit to our visitors. So on either side of the swale, we need to build service roads for the occasional maintenance, for refuge staff or partners to travel on to be able to do work on the refuge. But these service roads can also be used as trails. So working with AMAFCA and other partners, we've designated one side or the other of the swale to be used for that service work and the other side to be used for trails. So standing right here, eventually when this project is completed, this will be a trail connecting the north side of the refuge down onto the south side. Not only will this nearly mile-long section of trail be completed, we'll also have a couple other sections of what is called our perimeter trail that with our partners AMAFCA and their contractors, we're able to create through the stormwater swale construction project. Now, I understand that it's difficult to watch nearly half of the refuge be closed for, almost a year by the time that this project is done. I get it, it's not great, but it is part of that long-range plan that we've all been working on. It is how we take what was the Price's Dairy, what has always been a place for people and wildlife throughout many, many generations, and how we take it and move it into its next phase of being a place for people and wildlife. So stick with us. Please stay out of the active construction areas. We know that they're impacting the entrance to the bosque right now. We know that they're impacting some of the neighborhood entrances, and it's also impacting now the bar interior drain that we know so many folks use to access every day for equestrian use or dog walking or just to come out and see the wildlife. So hang in there with us. Please stay out of the construction areas and stay safe. Here we are, just a little bit west of where we were at our stop before. I am standing between two of our 5 planned wetlands here in Valle de Oro. Behind me is Unit 2, a wet Meadow, and to the north, behind the camera, is Unit 1. I know they don't look very wet yet. We are done with kind of the dirt moving portion of the construction, and we're on to the second part of the restoration. So together with our partners, U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, we were able to design, and then Reclamation came in with their field crew out of Sapporo to actually move the earth and construct the wetlands. Now, moving on to the next step is the planting and the invasive species plant management and the watering of these wetlands to really form them, turn them back into those native New Mexico habitats. Unit 1 will be a wetland between 20 and about 26 acres, and it'll be between 2 and 2.5 feet deep at its fullest. Now, this wetland we envision to have some open water in the center, the edges surrounded by cattails and rushes, and beyond the wetland edges, some of that riparian zone. So those shrubs that are producing berries for our birds and flowers for those pollinators, the willows and cottonwoods that we've already been planting since spring of 2017. So really envisioning Wetland Unit 1 to be kind of the pond unit, to have the open water, to have the emergent vegetation on the sides, and then moving out into shrubs, and then as we go west on the refuge, what we like to call the Bosque Extension. So since 2017, we've been working with partners to plant thousands of cottonwood trees and tens of thousands of willow trees. Behind me is Wetland Unit 2. This nearly 42-acre wetland is a different kind of wetland. It's more of a wet meadow or a mesic grassland. So we have two parallel earthen acequias where we'll be able to push irrigation water in either direction and flood irrigate this wetland in a kind of a nod to the recent farming history, but also in recognition of how the floodwaters would have come off of the mountains and the mesas down the Tijeras Arroyo and flooded out across Valle de Oro. This wetland is going to be really dynamic because the different pulses of water will bring forth the different early successional plants and animals that take advantage of floodplain wetlands. So we expect there to be patches of willows within this wetland, as well as rushes and sedges and saltgrass. We expect macroinvertebrates like dragonflies and damselflies and so many of the other of the smaller critters that live in those floodwaters to be flourishing in this area. And those smaller macroinvertebrates in turn provide food for toads and frogs and songbird species. How do we transition these newly created wetland features into actual habitats? Well, that's that next phase, and together with partners like Rio Grande Return and a myriad of volunteers and other local organizations, we are beginning that planting phase. Planting more willows and cottonwoods right now on site, as well as doing some seeding and timing with the monsoon season, planting grass plugs and smaller container plants as well. And you might think that planting is the hard part, but it's actually one of the easier parts. The tender, loving care that all those native plants are going to need to be able to help outcompete some of our invasive species plants, the irrigation water, the rainwater, and really the follow-through and monitoring of these plants is going to be that time-intensive part. We really will have to pour a lot of energy and love into these wetlands over the next about 3 years to make them sing and come into their own as those native New Mexico habitats that we have all envisioned for this section of the refuge. So we are looking forward to the work. We are so grateful for the help of our great partners and volunteers and community organizations who've offered to help, who've helped already. And we're excited to be able to share this with you in this short video, but also hopefully in the future in person as well.
Welcome to the future outdoor classroom at Valle de Oro National Wildlife Refuge. Right now, this doesn't look like much, but in the next few years, we're going to convert this space to a beautiful outdoor classroom. We've worked with Formative Architecture, our staff, our friends, and our neighbors to design the space. Eventually, there will be a beautiful outdoor classroom, vault toilets, a parking lot, and picnic areas and tables for friends and families to share food with. We'll also have a perimeter trail that leads to the outdoor classroom if folks need to come by car. Otherwise, this is the most direct access point from the Refuge Visitor Center to the Bosque. We're also eventually going to have an access point to the river. So if you are missing that opportunity, hang in there and we will have access to the river in the near future. In addition to having a beautiful outdoor classroom, we're also going to pair the space with artwork by Alma, one of our community partners, and Deborah Hohola from the Pueblo of Isleta, who is going to also do an art installation in this space.
Well, the last stop on our construction tour is the Bar Interior Drain. Now, this irrigation drain is managed by the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District, or MRDCD, and it goes from north to south across the Valle de Oro Refuge. Part of the stormwater swale is to convey water from north to south, but also we have an arm that goes from east to west across the refuge. And so Amavka and their contractor are working on installing a crossing across the Bar Interior Drain to be able to allow the drain to still function, but also have stormwater move from the east to the west across the refuge. Construction on this began in early February, and we anticipate that the Bar Interior Drain and the service roads that we often use as trails on either side of it will be closed throughout most of the summer. When this construction project is over, however, this crossing of the Bar Interior Drain will connect to a nearly mile-long segment of the refuge's perimeter trail, and the crossing is sized to fit school buses, refuge and service vehicles, as well as partner vehicles. And so we'll be able to have this as a vehicle crossing and get school buses to that outdoor classroom space. Just like some of the other heavy equipment and heavy construction that's happening, we ask you to stay out of this area. Access from the Salida Sandia to walk up the bar drain is closed because there's no access through on the bar drain. If you wanted to come in and enjoy the refuge by entering the bar drain from the north, you can come down to the center cross where we have a pedestrian bridge. So you can come down the bar drain from the north, come onto the east side of the refuge using the pedestrian bridge, and still enjoy the visitor center area, the mural tour along by the visitor center, and of course, use the bathroom in the breezeway. Thank you so much for joining me on the construction tour of the west side of Valle de Oro Refuge. I hope that you are excited about the projects that are happening, even though we are going through this phase of heavy construction. And we look forward to seeing results this summer and in the next couple of years as those native plant communities really grow and thrive.
Currently, the west side of the property is closed for construction and restoration. However, the visitor center breezeway and the new parking lot are open to folks. The breezeway bathroom is also open in case you need to use it. And we do have a few filled loops that are open to visitor use as well. We have a mural tour, and we also have a loop that goes around our education pond. Thank you for visiting and hope to see you soon at Valle de Oro National Wildlife Refuge.